Why do you think the U.S. is so easy to fool around with this leftist extremism hoax? Is it the Red Scare in history, or is it just plain idiocy? It's both. If the trend wouldn't be started in the U.S., we wouldn't talk about this in the U.K. and Europe either. But this is the beating heart of capitalism, the global domination over communism, wherever it might have been fomented, okay? America won the Cold War, and it was a very costly process. And America has been suffering since its victory over the USSR as well, because in the aftermath of the dissolution of the USSR, we reached an unprecedented level of super profits that are constantly expanding, and in the process of that expansion, that unlimited greed has created an environment where the working poor get shafted worse every single fucking year, okay? That's what happens when you have no safeguards. That's what happens when there's no counterbalance. So, of course, this country that successfully destroyed any alternative vision for an economic evolution is going to have an audience of receptive, brainless losers who will then turn around and say, no, it's not. The systems that we exist under are not the reason why we're suffering. It's the Guatemalan migrants. It's the transgenders. Okay, well, Donald Trump is doing unlimited warfare to all of those groups. Does it feel like things are more affordable for you? Wake up. At some point, you have to recognize that it's actually not the trans neighbors that you have that are destroying your lives, that are dominating your lives. It's not the Guatemalan immigrant that is just working a fucking factory to make sure that, you know, you can get cheap goods and commodities that you can consistently consume. That is actually the reason why you feel like you're never going to be able to own a home or retire at a fucking reasonable age. We exist under the complete domination of global capital, multinational corporations that are owned by people who have no loyalty whatsoever beyond expanding their profit margins when profit rates have a tendency to fall. They will constantly seek out extra profit margins everywhere they can. And the only malleable aspect in the commodity production side that can be squeezed is labor, whether that be seeking out new labor markets after you have dominated them through war and designing a system of unequal extraction from the global south, or whether it be gig economy jobs that are readily available for all so that you can always have a fucking cheap servant at your disposal through your fucking phone. But when one side of the equation, when an alternative vision is cast aside as dangerous, scary, violent, Americans find themselves in this drunken stupor as they sleepwalk towards fascism. Because there are other alternatives. When capitalism inevitably creates economic pressure, when capitalism inevitably creates these shocks within the system, fascism thrives because it's seen as a way to restore the hierarchical order by force. That's how it works. That's how it worked in Nazi Germany. That's how it worked in Mussolini's Italy. And that's how it's working here in the Western world. It's not just the United States of America. We say jump. Those European leaders say how high. They are completely and utterly servile in a way that is impossible to ignore now. Why is it impossible to ignore? They come after spending years and years shitting on Donald Trump, calling him an orange buffoon. They come and they genuflect. They come and they say, yes, sir. Yes, master. We will give you more tithing. We will do everything in our power to make you happy. So if you're wondering, if you're following from Europe and you're looking at all the chaos that's unfolding in America and you're saying, oh, well, at least we're not here. At least it's not happening here. You're looking into the future. Okay? You are looking into the future. For years and years, Europeans would come into my chat and be like, Hassan, you guys are such fucking fools. You're so silly. You're so stupid. We don't have this kind of shit in Europe. And I told you, I warned you, I said, what happens here today will happen in Europe tomorrow. And in the last decade of me constantly saying this, you saw the rise of AfD in Germany. You saw the rise of nationalists in France. You saw the rise of the Reform Party in the UK. Fascism is everywhere in liberal capitalist countries. And they are going to do the exact same thing that Donald Trump is doing right now when they have a little bit of the grip of power. Okay? When they control the levers of power, they are going to turn around and they're going to suppress dissent. They're going to violently and physically apprehend you. The only way out of this, the only other alternative out of this is socialism. The only other alternative out of this is to talk to your neighbors, organize in your communities, explain to them that it is actually global capital that is destroying their lives. Because these people do not actually hide in cigar smoke-filled back rooms where they fantasize about what to do with you, where they treat you as cattle. They do it in broad daylight. They do it at the World Economic Forum. They do it at Davos. They do it at the G10 summit. They do it at these summits where they get together and say, hey, we all have our class goals, right? We are aligned by the same interests. They do it in broad daylight. And the only reason why they can do it in broad daylight is because so many of your neighbors, so many of your friends have been deluded into thinking that the socialist alternative is dangerous. The socialist alternative is scary. That, oh my God, there could never be a better system than the one that we exist under. And the other system is scary and dangerous and violent. That's it. I've been warning about this moment in American history for the past decade, every single fucking day. Every single day. They won't even let you in on a crumb of the profits, the super profits that they are generating in the heart of Western Empire. And they won't even do it as riot tax. They won't even offer you modest social democratic reforms because they know they can get away with it. They know that your attention will go elsewhere. Okay? Today, you tap in. Today, you tune in, but tomorrow you'll forget about it because they know that even if you do pay attention to it, you will inevitably feel discouraged. You will inevitably feel like change is an impossibility. And therefore, you'll seek out nihilism. You'll seek out appropriate targets that you can go after. You'll seek out areas that seemingly are more malleable, people that are more accessible, like your least favorite Twitch streamer or your least favorite fucking content creator, this or that. These systems are seemingly impenetrable. And that's why I understand why people are so malleable and why people fight amongst themselves, because they feel like maybe it's easier. Maybe it's easier to just like have the government pack up vulnerable populations that I've been taught to fear. Okay? That's it. There is no difference between a black person and a white person. There's no difference between an undocumented migrant and a documented migrant and a natural-born U.S. citizen. No difference whatsoever. Not even a little bit. Everyone has unlimited potential. It is up to us to unlock said potential. But people, unfortunately, are held behind through systems of inequality. And the people that refuse to address those systemic to address the systemic inequality would rather have you servile, would rather have you deluded, would rather have you angry and fighting amongst yourselves. It's not different from when Lenin presented this reality, and it's not different right now. I'm not saying something that is new, okay? This has always been the design. The only difference now is that capitalism is completely won. It has dominated our lives. It has dominated our existence. We take it for granted. We think it's a part of the human nature. We can't even envision an alternative reality where we say, hey, can people get a little bit more in return for their productive labor, for their output? No, that's socialism. That's terrifying. That's bad. Why do you want to reward lazy people? They're not working hard. And this is not a CEO saying this. This is not the owner of a mega corporation saying this. This is Americans who work that are saying this. Think about that. They've been so brainwashed and so fucking brain broken that they turn around and say, people just like me, working an honest job, people that look exactly like me, people that have the exact same class interests, they're bad people. They're the real enemies, actually. And not capital, not capitalism. God forbid. And they fucking toil away and they get their little treats on the sideline so that, you know, for a brief moment, they feel a sense of autonomy, a sense of purpose in their lives, a sense of humanity in their lives, and they just move along with their day. And change seems impossible. Change in the appropriate direction seems impossible. But as material conditions worsen, day in and day out, people get resentful. People get angry. And there's one party that takes that anger, that captures that attention, that captures all of that enmity and redirects it back to targets that are vulnerable, targets that are easily dismissed. Because most people don't care. Most people are too self-invested. Most people don't have time to care. Most people are too busy trying to make rent. Most people are too busy trying to afford their fucking groceries. Most people are too busy with the fear that if they, God forbid, something terrible were to happen, they're going to be saddled with medical debt. So in that process, they get more and more angry. And then when someone comes along and says, you're angry, and it's because the groceries are too expensive, right? But you know who's made the groceries too expensive? The fucking Guatemalan dude that is slaving away in 100-degree heat to make sure that you can have tomatoes. That's the reason why your groceries are expensive. And when we deport that guy, instead of offering him the dignity that he deserves, that everyone deserves, but he deserves more than many others, okay, for toiling the fucking land for a goddamn decade, when we kick that guy out of this country, then groceries are somehow magically going to be less costly. It's bullshit, but people believe it. And the reason why people believe it is because there is no one out there in a position of prominence that turns around and says, how the fuck is that going to help? What is this? This was you warning Europe in 2023, poorly clipped? I mean, I've done it way before 2023 as well.
Times I've told you European fucks keep laughing from over there at America. You're just basically laughing at your own future. I hate to fucking be the bearer of bad news, but that is now, okay? It's here. That fucking corporate brain rot, that hyper-capitalist brain rot that slowly but surely has eroded your own constitutions, your own checks and balances, the pervasive influence of lobbying that I told you was coming to your fucking countries. It's been happening for the past 10 to 20 years. And now you're finally starting to see the worst aspects of it. And get ready, because the other side of it, it's already existed. It's already been in existence in places like Sweden and whatnot, where like any kind of fucking immigration is seen as like the main reason for why society's awful, any kind of like awful feeling that you have due to existing under this like these crippling conditions are directly related back to immigration, directly related back to refugees, directly related back to Islam, when, you know, it has nothing to do with that at fucking all. So there's that as well. And now you have the police that are supposed to be controlling the population, that are there to protect and control, protect and serve the interests of capital, take carte blanche approaches to you know, wanton violence that is unchecked, unrestricted, and it's going to get fucking worse.
My eldest is
20,000 officers and says it will take a zero tolerance.
I mean, it'll never not be wild to me to see an entire...
There's still people saying, nah, fuck off in the chat at that time. Elindria. I want to see what they're saying now. Let's see. I sniped someone from back then. Okay. Has your position changed? Elindria, 64-month subscriber. I mean, I'm not calling you out. I hate to single you out like this, but I had to snipe you from the past. I totally wasn't referring to that, Lamau. I couldn't have been. I'm American. Okay, never mind. Oh, fuck off, bitch. Fuck you. Oh, they're talking to the person. Okay, my bad. I think they're just responding to this person, the journalist that was presenting.
Says it will take a zero tolerance.
I mean, it'll never not be wild to me to see an entire nation in a state of disarray and unrest with mass mobilization happening in public over one singular teenager being shot at a traffic stop. And of course, I'm not trying to belittle or minimize the violence that you are seeing, right? But I'm simply an American. So when I see a 17-year-old get shot at a traffic stop, I think, well, that's a Tuesday. Our police force kills 1,000 civilians a year.
This is why you will never be at the level of Charlie Kirk. You know, I actually wear that as a badge of honor. Charlie Kirk was an administration hatchet man. He was a regime propagandist. He was beholden to whatever the Republican Party wanted him to do. He was a mere vessel of Republican propaganda. I mean, he obviously made the correct bet. After presenting himself as an anti-Trump voice, he turned around and demonstrated complete fealty to Donald Trump, and he was rewarded for it. I mean, he got invited to the White House. He became a trusted advisor. This is true. There is a reason why I am not the equivalent of Charlie Kirk on the left, because the Democratic Party is antagonistic to many of the things that I'm talking about. My goal, the way I see myself, the way I see my role in this process is to try to help people arrive at the conclusion that the danger is here. It's not even just like knocking on our door. It's inside of our houses. It's inside of our homes. It's inside of our fucking minds, you know? So with 50,000 veterans on the street, we should focus on immigration. My friend, if you think that these kinds of talking points are going to work here, you are the biggest idiot on the planet. Do you think, first of all, there's 600,000 people on the street, not just 50,000 veterans. I think they should all get houses. I have advocated for housing, a housing first policy. I've advocated to fix the housing markets. Have you? Have any of your Republican leaders done so? No, because they, just like you're doing here, whether you are aware of this or not, doesn't fucking matter, only use veterans as a talking point to deflect away from another issue. This is at the heart of the problem. It's one deflection after the next. It's always a deflection. Gun control. Oh, what about mental health? We got to focus on mental health. Okay, let's focus on mental health. Oh, fuck you. We're not going to do that. And then you package this up and you turn around and you focus on some made up nonsense. Okay, wake the fuck up. I work with groups that seek to provide shelter and help homeless people. Okay, your fight is not with someone like myself. Not only do I have the appropriate policies to try to deal with this crisis, you're trying to defend an administration who very clearly does not give a shit. We're the richest nation on the planet. We're the richest nation on the fucking planet. And we got 600,000 plus people sleeping outside every night. You're not answering my question because this is fucking made up. Exactly how we're giving 4-star away and food stamps on immigration is not a waste of money. Because we don't have a finite supply of any of these things, okay? It's fucking bullshit. The appropriate thing to do in that situation, if we're going to talk about immigration without trying to deflect it away and be like, oh, like, okay, it's not a zero-sum game, right? If you want my honest perspective, I hope you listen to this with as much charitability as you possibly can, okay? Listen to me. It's not a zero-sum game at all, okay? We can do both at the same time. And the appropriate thing to do with migrants that are actually seeking refuge on U.S. soil, who will become wonderful contributions to the American economy, to the American state, is by giving them expedited documentation. Because the difference between a migrant that is documented and a migrant that is undocumented, or the difference between an undocumented migrant and someone like yourself that was fortunate enough to be born on U.S. soil, myself included, is paperwork. That's it. Okay? In the eyes of the law, it's just paperwork. So one must ask the question why we do not actually offer them the proper clearance so they can fucking work on U.S. soil. These guys aren't here to fuck up the country. They're here to work. Why won't we let them work? Or we do let them work, but why do we let them work as undocumented laborers instead of offering them the proper documentation? You must ask that question to yourself. I know what the answer is. It's because if they are kept undocumented, they can be abused and discarded. Okay? There's a two-tier labor system in this country. You have the documented labor force and you have the undocumented labor force. And the undocumented labor force is always presented as a depressive mechanism against the documented labor force. This is the exact same issue that I was talking about. You are led to believe that these people are actually here to harm you, when in fact, The system is designed by people who are actually harming you every single day. After we just had a pandemic, let 10 million unvaxxed with no background checks. There has never been a point where I've said any of those things. Okay, but this is a fun position to have. The pro-mass inoculation Republican who is just like racistly angry. Okay, what now? What if there was mass inoculation happening at the border? What if there were background checks that were happening at the border as well? Would you be fine with that then? Remember, you're presenting a problem that I'm aware of, a problem that I choose to address, a problem that I want to solve. But the only reason why you're bringing it up is because you simply don't want migrants in the country. So at least be a little bit more honest about your position, or maybe reconsider your position. What now? Migrants come in, they get not racist, just makes no sense. Okay, they come in, they get inoculated, they get their proper background checks, and they get their proper clearance to work on U.S. soil so they can be a part of unions and advocate for better wages for all American workers. So they're no longer used as a second-class, second-tier labor force that can depress American wages. Okay? Do you have an issue with that? Do you have an issue with that? I don't. Do you have an issue with that? And if you do, why? Okay, there's no answer for now. He's really reconsidering. Maybe his worldview is shook. I have an issue because we should focus on helping our situation before trying to flood with 10 million people. Brother, this operates under the idiotic notion that if there were no migrants, that we would somehow magically help these people. Are you fucking stupid? Well, the answer is yes. If you truly believe this, you are duped. Okay? You're a sucker. You're a fool. Immigration has been completely stopped, virtually stopped by the Trump administration at this point. Have we helped the fucking homeless people, or are we using the military to forcibly clean the streets of the homeless people? Who knows where they're getting pushed? Meanwhile, all of those migrant laborers that you are saying are flooding the markets are unironically paying more in taxes, and they get nothing in return for it, and they just get fucking bullied and humiliated and then discarded violently. So we wouldn't save money not using on immigration benefits. We do not actually have a negative impact on the economy by migration. You will never find a serious economist that will claim that that is the case. The only dollar value that they assign to undocumented immigrants and how much they take away from the existing welfare state that's already in a state of fucking disrepair anyway is the children of undocumented migrants. 1 in 14 households in this country have one parent that is not of documented status, by the way. So 1 out of every 14 family that you are talking about have a child that was born on U.S. soil and therefore is an American citizen, full blown. And those kids, they do get to go to public school. They do get to take advantage of the welfare state. So what you're referencing is actually just American citizens that were born on U.S. soil that has been constitutionally protected, even though Donald Trump wants to actually eradicate that as well. Birthright citizenship. ICE budget is nearly $200 billion, an increase of like 800%. It would have only cost like $50 billion to house all the homeless veterans. Why didn't they do that instead? Are spending the money on overtime for current employees? I wonder why. It just doesn't. These guys, for a lot of people, I think it starts and ends at a very simple position, which is they're not like me and I'm scared of them. Okay? And Republicans build on that tribalistic sentiment. That's all it is. And there's plenty of stereotyping that you can accidentally or deliberately pump your brain full of to continue that fear. How else would you arrive at a position that like these people are actually here to destroy the country? They're not just here to work. You don't understand. It's so stupid.